The worst advice in the midst of marital conflict is to somehow try to figure it out here. Just hang in there. Well, maybe you'll start to de-escalate, and then you could. It's a terrible advice because hey guys, Greg and Erin Smalley are so excited that you're joining us today. We've got a great conversation. So we have Tanner and Whitney back with us. We're going to talk about conflict, their conflict. So apparently something's going on, and they're asking if we can really jump in and help them out because we are so great at conflict. So it makes sense that we would do the coaching here. So thrilled that you guys are here with us. Well, before we jump into the conversation, don't forget to subscribe. So we have great videos every week. We love it when you jump into the comment section and tell us what you liked, maybe something you disagreed with, usually not what I say, but just tell us what you liked, didn't like, or maybe some ideas on some topics that you'd love us to cover. So guys, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're excited.
So the dreaded word, conflict, I guess maybe depending on your experience growing up, this can elicit a lot of fear.
Or your experience in marriage, possibly.
Could be. So what does conflict look like for you guys? Do you feel like you've done a pretty good job, or is maybe there's a challenging part?
We just wanted to come here and tell you how good we're doing.
Great.
No, I think
good.
I've just realized that at 7, almost 8 years of marriage, it's sort of that point where you figure out what your ruts are and sort of the patterns that your conflict always seems to kind of take. And in trying to figure out how to improve that, you kind of end up stuck because you only know what you know. So often what I think happens, and we had a fight, I think last week, I kind of forget what it was about. But
I try to.
But basically, it doesn't matter because it's always the same pattern where I'll start to feel like a little bit neglected, or I'll feel frustrated about something. And then instead of saying, hey, I need to tell you how this made me feel, and we need to sit down and talk about it, I pick fights, little fights, because if we pick the little fight and then things get emotional and we're kind of activated, then we can say, and you did this, and this really hurt my feelings. And then now we're kind of both mad. Yes. And then Tanner, who's very peace-minded, sort of tends to, again, he's not looking for those conversations either. So neither of us are really initiating conversations in a healthy way. But then he also will take that opportunity to sort of vocalize, and this is what you did a few weeks ago too. So now we're talking about everything. And then one of us eventually, who's never me, decides to diffuse the conflict so we can kind of move forward. And then we do get to a point where it's like, okay, we love each other, we're okay. But I'm not really sure that was a productive use of an emotional conversation. I'm not sure we fixed anything. And we sort of just hold off until the next time. And granted, we have addressed a lot of big issues, and we've gotten through a lot of things. And I think it's past the point where those conflicts feel like, this is it, this is the end. But I don't know if I know how to make these conflicts go better and how to make them something that's actually an opportunity for our marriage instead of a really stressful once or twice monthly event that just sort of is going to happen when one of us is feeling.
Yeah, I feel like we've learned in the last 8 years, like what the on-ramps to conflicts are, like what's gonna take us to that more kind of escalated fight.
The sensitive topics.
And so we've kind of gotten better at avoiding some of those things.
In good ways.
And maybe in some not good ways where like the bigger issues are piling up in the background. But we're avoiding kind of that spark that's going to ignite it. But we've also gotten better at some of the off-ramps where I feel like we're connecting better after a fight and healing better. And so we've come a long way, but there's still, I think I agree with what you said, where maybe we're still avoiding some of those things that could help strengthen through conflict rather than avoid it.
So I guess that's my question is just what are the unhealthy conflict styles that you guys see most often? And what do you tell those people to do so that they can grow?
Well, you kind of addressed them even between the two of you, that you tend to escalate and to get emotional, maybe a little intense via conflict versus Tanner.
Erin's really picking her words carefully.
Being really nice.
Well, I am a therapist, and I do talk about conflict all day long.
That was good.
Because we are not so unique that we have conflict in our marriage. So maybe in more of an escalator versus a withdrawer.
Yeah.
Want to keep the peace. I'm going to go over here and be quiet just so
Mhm.
everything is good. But neither one really works. And when most people think of conflict, they're actually thinking of combat.
Yeah.
That combat is where we're throwing critical words out, or we're stonewalling, we're shutting down, and we're unwilling to engage in the conversation. And neither one of those methodologies work.
Right.
Because I always say if we escalate and we're screaming or yelling, they can't hear us. And if you're withdrawing and stonewalling, well, nothing's getting brought up. So neither methodology is going to work.
Yeah, and I think it as the combat continues, over time, it just either way, either you're withdrawing or you're aggressively pursuing. It just feels so unsafe. And so people over time just stop trying to work things out. Like if Erin knows that I'm just going to shut down and put this big stone wall up in front of her and kind of like say whatever you want, doesn't affect me at all, that feels just as unsafe.
Right.
Is the person who's doing more the voice raising or the yelling and things like that. So it took us a while to really understand that the true impact is that the combat shuts us down. We're not going to work through our stuff. If we can't work through our stuff, we're going to keep drifting apart to where one day we wake up and we feel so lonely, so distant. And it's all because we just never learned how to walk through conflict in a way that actually worked. But we've definitely been where you're at,
Right.
and get that. And I think too, part of what's going on, there's such a spiritual battle within this, because Satan loves to see us in conflict. He loves to see us divided. So just the very act of squaring off against each other has created a rift that he's all about. And he wants to see us on those opposite sides playing pickleball against each other, so to speak, hitting that racket hard, the ball hard at each other. And so he loves that. So, I mean, there has to be a way in which he's goading that on, see, look, she's always going to do this. She never sees what you do. She's only seeing what you don't do.
I was just thinking about that today, and I mean, spiritual warfare. About the spiritual
not on the
warfare.
drive down here.
Right?
Yeah.
No. Because
You're going in a very different direction.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
hoping.
Now let's throw her.
Real-time conflict.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's have it right now. But just the small ways that spiritual warfare can look. Like, I think one of the conflicts that we had was me kind of being distant while I was getting chores done at the end of the day. Once we put the kids down, then it's like we have a list of a million things to do, and that's also our main time where we can connect with each other.
Right.
And there's just a decision that's made in my head where it's like, okay, I can kind of just tunnel vision, get the stuff done, put in a podcast, kind of zone out. And I knew that didn't feel right in the moment, but it's what felt comfortable and kind of, restful to me right then. And I think even in that little moment, it's just the enemy can put in a little thought like, no, you deserve this, or no, this is what you need to do right now. And it just felt like, oh man, that could be spiritual warfare. Just a small little thing like that moment for decision making. Like, am I going to reach out to connect, or am I going to just zero in on myself?
Yeah.
Or even just to communicate about it.
Right.
Like, hey, I really need some time tonight.
Sure.
So I'm just going to listen to this podcast and hey, let's connect later.
Right.
Just to communicate about it takes the enemy's power away.
Absolutely.
But so often we don't. We hold it inside and we make a lot of assumptions.
Yeah. I think for me, the game changer within our conflict was really learning that is the temptation is to power through and figure out the relationship. So whatever's gone on, there's a relationship issue that we've got to address or potentially even resolve. And yet what the huge epiphany for me was that's the worst order. The worst advice in the midst of marital conflict is to somehow try to figure it out here. Just hang in there. Maybe you'll start to de-escalate, and then you could. It's a terrible advice, because when conflict is happening, hearts are shut down. And so for me, the epiphany was actually that I need to take some time just to get my own heart back open. Because when I'm open, better things are going to happen versus me being shut down, still trying to engage in some sort of healthy dialogue, which never happens.
It doesn't happen because we're in fight or flight. When our hearts close and we've been triggered, you think about it, how often does a conversation go well? it's just not going to, because we are not thinking clearly. So I love what you're saying. Step back, communicate it. Hey, I'm triggered. I'm going to go take some time, take care of me, or just call a timeout. Step away, do that, simmer it down inside, and then come back and ask, are you available for a conversation? For a different conversation.
And I wonder, Tanner, if you ever do this, where I'd get so hijacked in the middle of our arguments.
I can't wait to hear.
Well, it's because Erin is saying something that in my mind that I'm thinking, oh, she's disappointed about this or frustrated about this. Something that she's saying thus is defining me, and it's true then about me. And I never wanted any of what she was saying or feeling, thinking to be true. And so I was very committed then to defending that's not true. That you how could you possibly feel that way? Let me tell you how you should feel. Or let me
really, that's what you do.
But what I realized is that what was so unfair is that in those moments I was allowing her to be the source of truth in my life. So I was literally making her like my Holy Spirit. Like, just because you think it, feel it, therefore it's true. I don't like that. So now let's battle. And I don't know if that ever hits you that way.
Oh yeah.
But it was that was another one of those game changers, because that's so weird. I was just having this conversation with our 17-year-old daughter last night. Her older sister, so one of our daughters, I won't say which one, it had challenged her about something, and she was just sitting there at the table just going, that's so wrong. Who does she think she is? And she does it. And I'm like, it seems like, Annie, that you're giving her all this power to decide what's true about you. And she's like, yes. I'm like, well, is your sister your source of truth? And she's like, well, no. I'm like, it's what I used to do forever with your mom. And the greatest thing that I learned to do within that is to be open to feedback, and then to simply tell her, so if I hear you right, you're saying this. Is that right? Yeah. Then I'm going to take that to the Lord.
Totally.
And I've just experienced over the years, when you do that, he'll give me a peace one way or the other. And that, so again, I don't know if that happens, but that's where I'd get stuck. So I think part of it, right, is figuring out in conflict what tends to hijack you. Like, where do you get stuck?
Right. I think that really resonates with me. I think I can so quickly jump to extrapolating on the few points that you said, or something that you're feeling, something that you're going through, to well, then if that's true, then that means this and this about me, and that I can't accept that, so I've got to dig in my heels.
That can't possibly be
and
true.
prove this wrong, or else all this is true.
You
about
just
me.
see me poorly. That's you.
Right. And I think that can be such a trap for me, because when I dig in my heels and focus on one element of what she said, then I start missing the heart of what is actually going on underneath for her. And oh wait, that wasn't the main point of what I was saying, but I really clung to that because I had to make that my stronghold and hold the defenses there. And that can get us into a lot of trouble, because then we're fighting about fighting, and we're so far removed from the original and important
we
issue.
always end up fighting about how we fight.
Exactly.
Like,
Yes. You're like,
why are you saying it like this? I just
what happened in the beginning? Why are we
Remember,
here?
Greg and Erin told us not to say it like that.
Well, and I think
This will be great to weaponize later on.
I'm glad it's recorded. I think just in reflecting on that too, it's when he does that is when I sort of go into like lawyer mode. I'm a little bit notorious for, like, if I want to win an argument and I flip that switch, like,
You'd be a great lawyer.
that's the nicest way of saying something convicting. So I think then that kind of sets me in this, like, oh, then we're bringing it all out. I'm getting every receipt. We're going to go. And then it turns into like steamrolling of him. And that is also, I think, a really unhealthy habit that has developed kind of in our relationship, where he denies, I feel invalidated, and then I'm steamrolling because I'm like, no, you're gonna hear me.
And then I'm withdrawing after that.
Yeah.
And I love the timeout piece, because then there's a part of withdrawing that feels necessary. It's not just me unhealthy. I really do need to like step away and process.
Yeah.
But I rarely communicate that well. It just feels like me shutting down. And so I think that'd be great.
Well, and I need to, because I'm just too emotionally activated. And I can usually get myself to a place where I'm thinking logically and rationally, but I do need to, like, what matters here? What is true? You know?
Yes. And you said it earlier, Whitney, with every conflict, and I talk about this all the time in my counseling office, there's an opportunity. after every conflict to revisit it and go, okay, what did we do well? What didn't go well? What can we take from this conversation? What can we take from this conflict and apply to the next conflict? Because it's going to happen again.
Right.
I can promise that there will continually be conflict. It's all in how we manage it and what we learn from it, because it's an opportunity for growth, both individually as well as in the relationship.
Absolutely.
And so much that we could have gotten into.
Yes,
I feel
more
like
conversations to be
we're
had.
barely scratching the surface. So if you have a question, hit the comment section. Tell us what your question is. Maybe give us your very best tip that you've ever heard for managing conflict within your marriage. If you found this helpful, go ahead and like the video. Don't forget to share this. We all know someone who could benefit from just doing conflict better within their marriage. So,
and if you want to grow in your marriage, you can take the free Focus on the Family Marriage Assessment. Super easy. You each take it, you get a combined report, and then you're going to learn about your marriage. 3 growth areas, 3 strengths. And as you analyze that and talk about it, it's going to strengthen your relationship.
Don't forget to subscribe for weekly videos. We want to, again, see your marriage growing, and we want to see you have that relationship that you long to have in your marriage. And thank you guys. Thank you for your humility, your transparency. Thanks for being honest. It's so helpful to hear that we're not the only couple that has these moments within our marriage. So thanks, guys.
It's so great to learn from you guys. Thank you.